let me know if you get it, and hopefully we can get on. 10 people join. Thanks very much for joining. Again, we're just going through the Instagram pane of trying to add someone to a live. There we go. Hello, Darren. How are you? Can you hear me? Have we got audio? Hello? Can you see me? Can you
I
hear me?
can hear you, but you're not moving. It's kind of a bit weird.
Okay.
Right,
Put you
okay.
on. Put you on.
I'm
We're
on.
on. We're on. We did it. That was relatively painless for Instagram. So yeah, for everyone who just joined, we are going to review this codex, which obviously says Codex Corrector, because it's backwards. We're going to review this codex. So I've got Stephen with me, obviously, because I've got to have some representation because I've got no orcs behind me. Darren, as you can see, has got orcs behind him. So first of all, let's go over. You played a game with the new rules on, was it Thursday?
On Wednesday, yeah.
Wednesday.
Yeah.
How did you find that?
Uh, it was fun. Yeah, I forgot a few rules. Obviously being new data sheet changes and stuff, things like that. Killer cans kind of forgot some of their new rules and stuff, but yeah, it was good.
Right. So let's go. So we did have a question. We just had one question.
Yeah, I've got a
Um,
few as well. Some
so
people sent me as well.
I'll ask my question first, and then you can go through yours, and then we'll get stuck into the codex. So, how did you feel about the? I think the question was, how did you feel about the Smasher Squig and the Squigogs being pushed into one unit? So, Smasher Squig is no longer a character.
Um, I like that it's pushed back in because they come in a box. So I didn't mind the Smash and Squid getting put back in. I don't like what they've done with the leaders. Um, the other thing is like because the Smash and Squid used to give +1 to hit. Now he's like lumped in that unit. There's no way of getting them +1 to hit at all. So it's a kind of a big nerf to Squigs, and they're already quite expensive. So and putting the knob back in just made them more expensive. I
Yeah,
think
yeah, fair enough.
they're probably good in like one or two detachments maybe, but you're paying a lot of money for like a lot of points for something that's going to be very hard to move around the board, especially when you start putting like Mozrog and a Beast Boss on an even bigger base with them. So I'm kind of a bit like that about the Squigs now.
So, Necrotech Printing says he's waiting for the rant on the grot tanks. Do you want to get that out of the way? Get out of your system. We saw it. If no one's aware, but I'm sure most people are, there was a big rant in Darren's Instagram stories.
Hmm.
Do you want to cover that for the, for the audience? Because you weren't very happy.
I wasn't. I think taking away all the like, I think for people who buy Forge World, you know what I mean? You pay that premium price for the models, things like that, and for Games Workshop to just like tease the codex first, be like, Grot vehicles get boosted in Dread Mob, still have the Mega Tank on sale on the online for 90 quid. I know people bought it going, I'll run that in a Dread Mob. And then the day before the code, like before the code, a couple of days before the codex drops, they just get rid of all those models and Grot tanks, Grot Mega Tanks, the whole like extra flavor that orcs have, and they've just kind of like narrowed it down so much now. And I think it's maybe they were kind of like trying to squeeze out the last little bit of money on that mega tank before they announced that you can't use it.
It's still for sale, though, right? You can
You can
still buy one. It's not
still
been
buy it.
discontinued.
Yeah, you can still buy it. Still on the web store now for £90, but you can't use it. Right. But I don't know. I just think like putting the dread mob on, because everyone knows like grot tanks, grot mega tanks, things like that would get the grot vehicles keywords. So I think people were like making their own, painting them up, getting them ready for that new codex drop, and then they just go, no, no Forge World for you, no, everything's Legends now.
And then Grot's Irony says, and Squigoths. I thought Squigoths were still in. Are they not in?
No. So the Gargantuan Squigoth
Oh,
is
right.
it's the only, the £310 model
Yeah.
is the only one that's available to play from Forge World now. So the
And while
little
we're
Squigoth,
talking of,
which
go on,
is
son.
here somewhere, is no longer usable.
Did you just feel the normal Squigoth in games then? Rather
I,
than the go
I've
back?
normally had the Gargantuan Squigoth, but
Right.
I have got the little one, and I have been used. I used it in one game, well, one tournament.
I'm just looking through pages. I'm just trying to find why we're talking about stuff that's taken out the codex. I did put this in my stories yesterday. Where are we? Where's the other guy? Where is he? There he is. So this guy has got an entire page of lore,
Yes.
boss, and then also Captain Badrock has got an entire page of lore, but for some reason they're no longer playable characters and they're not in the codex.
Yep. And
So
I just made my own less than a week before they announced that they weren't going to be using them anymore.
that was the
So
one you used out of. That's the one you made out of the. Is it Balin's Revenge?
yeah,
Balor's Revenge?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. He was the one from the base for that. Yeah. Yeah. I played one game with, or two games with Zagstruck, and he was pretty good. But yeah, he's gone too. Badrook's gone. Knob with Warbanner's gone, which my local GW store also had on sale on the shelf after it was gone Legends.
So you got to ask yourself why, if they're going to put pages of the codex, pages of lore in the codex. That's the first thing I noticed when I flipped through the codex was that they had pages of lore,
Yeah.
and then you just think, well, if they've got pages of lore in the codex, why did they not upgrade the models? Surely people would have rather bought a new Badrook model or a new Zagzag model
I
than
mean, the way maybe it was about because people already have Badrook, but he was super meta. Anybody who played Flash Kits was taking Badrook. It was 10 Flash Kits in Badrook. For Index, it was great. It was like very powerful. So if they'd done a Badrook model, I think a lot of people who couldn't get their hands on it probably would have probably bought that new model. You could even give it new updated rules, something a bit different, give them a bit of flavor, something like that, which would make people want the new model. Instead, we got the big mech, which is like, yeah, not a big
I take
fan of it.
you didn't bother buying the Battle Force then.
No, I've already got three stompers. I don't need a fourth.
Fair enough. Fair enough. What did you think of? What do you think about the new Combat Patrol?
um,
This one. Why were he?
I've got all the models, so I can play it. It's probably good for people that are wanting to stay, but then sorry to start an Orc army. The only thing is, I think the Big Hunt is one of the weaker detachments out of
Yeah.
all five, six. Maybe we get six.
Yeah.
It's
Definitely. I do think
definitely
that
the weakest.
Beast Snaggers were a bold move for a combat patrol because it's quite specific to what you can use it for. Um, okay, so let's go through some of the codex. So let's start with the one that you played. Let's start with Dreadmob.
Yeah.
That'll be
Up
the
front.
easiest one because we're more familiar with that. I'm just trying to find the page now. I did have a look at this in the shop today. I was just on the app looking through stuff. So Dreadmob's there.
Mm-hmm.
That's the Dreadmob. So you've got, let's
Front page.
start with detachment rule. Try that button.
Yep.
So you've got inventive mechs with all manner of customized gubbins, suspicious extras, and inviting bigger buttons to weaponize or into the cockpits of their clanking cans creations. So basically, you can roll a d6, and then on a 1 to 2, you get sustained hits 1. On a 3 to 4, you get lethal hits. On a 5 to 6, you get each time an attack is made with this weapon on a critical wound, improve the armor penetration gauge to that by 2. Or
Mm-hmm.
you can choose, and or you can choose to choose one of them, and your weapons get, what do they call it now? Hazardous.
Hazardous. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
Um, so what did you think about how did that play out on the table?
I really liked it. I thought it was great. So I took a really mixed list. So I was like, I'll try and take. So I took some killer cans. I was like, rather than just taking like spamming rockets, I'll take burners. I'll take shooters. I'll take everything they can. All the different options basically. The Grotzuka. I was like, so if I do press the button, I can see how that button will affect each gun and see what kind of works. Um, and the ability to pick it is probably better than randomly doing it because sometimes I was doing it at random and I was getting sustained hits, but then the burner doesn't benefit from that, doesn't benefit from lethal. So the burner was only really benefiting from the +2 on a crit wound, but which was really nice because you're getting AP3 flamers, which is pretty brutal if you get a crit. So yeah, I think having I'd definitely say things like rockets or shooters benefit from it the most because you can sustained on your shooters and get a ton of shots, hitting on fours, quite good. Or the rockets to get sustained and get extra rockets if you really want to like shoot something big. You've got the ability to pop a strat which can do extra damage to vehicles, so maybe putting that on cans, I think that'd be quite strong.
And so, go on, sorry.
I was going to say as well, the other thing you can do is that there is a enhancement called Press It Faster, and that's where you get to press that's where you get to press the button twice.
So mech model only, each time the bearer's unit is selected to shoot when rolling to 2, which ability that unit weapons gain from the try that button, attach and roll 1 additional d6 until the end of the phase. Range weapons equipped by models in that unit gain both button effects generated by those rolls. If a duplicate button effect is rolled, it has no additional effect. That is Games Workshop's way of writing press it twice. That's the one thing about these rules in all codexes. When I read them, I think you could have reduced that down to 2 or 3 lines, and instead get an entire paragraph that just goes round in circles and just says you can basically have 2 effects on this because you can press it twice.
Why not? A lot of that stuff as well is when people are getting like rules as intended, rules in written. There's very like sometimes the wordings because there is something in this that I have heard come up where it's if you want to check out bigger shells for bigger gits. On that page.
Oh, for this 1 CP strat.
Yeah. So there's a strat, but the wording on that. So because we're talking about the wording and it being a bit, people are saying that because it says when you target a vehicle or a monster, you get +1 to the wound roll, but then it says if you push it, add 1 to the damage of that attack, and people are saying that you can just like +1 damage to something that's not a vehicle or monster. You only get the +1 to wound if it is a monster. I think it's worded very, very like vague.
Yeah,
I think it's intended that it's +1 to a vehicle or monster, but people are saying that you could get it on something that's not a vehicle or monster.
So it's a target one mech, orcs, walker, or grot vehicle. See, that's confused as well. Target, why that means you pick which model, but target insinuates shoot at the model. Each time you use a stratagem, you can choose to push it until the end of the phase. Each time a model in your unit makes an attack that targets a monster or vehicle, add +1 to the wound roll. If you choose to push it, add +1 damage caster to that attack. And until the end of the phase, range weapons equipped by models in your unit have a hazardous ability as well. Yeah, so that says to me it's when you're targeting monsters or vehicles, not if you're targeting.
But I think people are saying if the full stop, so if you choose to push it, which is make your weapon hazardous, you just get +1 damage. So they're saying that for 1 CP, +1 damage, regardless if it's a vehicle or a monster. I think it is quite vague. I personally think it's intended for vehicle or monster, but
yeah.
Maybe
if they'd put that at the end rather than the middle of the paragraph, they'd have made it a bit clearer.
Yeah.
So announcement-wise for this detachment, you've got Smoky Gubbins. So that's a Met model only. That's from Met model only. That's what I noticed about this. You need a Met model for Dreadmob from all the enhancements.
Yeah.
They're all on Met. So I sort of looked at that in the shop today and thought, I've got the models for Dreadmob, but I haven't got a mech model yet because I'm waiting for that new mech model to go on sale on its own. And I thought, well, I can't use that right now because I've not got a mech.
I think I use the Smoky Gubbins on the Big Mech and Mega Armor because he comes with the Mega Nubs.
Yeah.
So yeah, I put it on him, I think.
So that gives model in the bearer's unit have the stealth ability. And then we've got the super glowy thing. So that is Met model only again, and you come on phase, select one enemy unit with 8 inches invisible, 8 inches of and visible to the bearer, then roll 1d6. On a 1 to 2, the enemy unit must take a battle shock test. On a 3 to 4, the enemy suffers d3 mortal wounds. On a 5 to 6, until the start of your next command phase, each time model the enemy unit makes an attack, subtract 1 from the hit roll. So that looks pretty tasty, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't think it's too bad. I think I ended up I was playing around making lists today, and I ended up with a list that was 20 points short of 2000. So I just threw that on the end.
So you know,
and it's I'm not like
it looks alright.
It looks alright. Yeah, I'm not too fussed on it. Like, but it's very like you want if the enemy's 18 inches, it's kind of very defensive. You know what I mean? Because I think in this Dread Mob, other than your cans and things you're throwing forward, your mechs and stuff kind of want to be stood at the back, buffing the vehicles. So I think that's like a nice little defense. If they come up to you, you can kind of weaken them a little bit.
So how many mechs have you got in your dread mob list altogether?
I've got the big mech in Mega Armor, just the regular mech, and then the mech with shock attack gun. Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm putting the
But you can
shock
only have
attack gun one with the looters, because looters, they were terrible in Index. I think they're good in Dread Mob.
yeah, yeah. I think you can only have 3 enhancements in an army anyway, so I guess more than 3 mechs, you're not going to be able to give them all the enhancements. And then we've done Press It Faster. Then the last one is Git Finder Goggles. Ranged weapons equipped by models in the bearers unit have the Ignores cover ability. I'm guessing that's quite a cheap one.
Yeah, I think it is like 15 points.
Wouldn't have thought it'd be more than 10 points because it's not
I
the
think it is a
greatest.
cheap one.
Yeah,
It's
not the
all,
greatest.
I'd say it's all right for like looters, because if you're shooting someone on an objective and they're in cover, then you can, because I think they're only 1 AP looters, so at least
Yeah.
you get in your 1 AP. It's not too bad.
So, and then we've got strats wise. We've done the bigger shells for bigger gits. See, the bigger shells for bigger gits as well. Bigger gits insinuates it's going to be bigger than infantry to me as well.
True. Yeah.
But you are right. There are tournament players who are going to try and turn that around and say it's for everything.
Yeah.
Clanking Claws, that's for your dread. That's a dread mob battle stratagem. When in the fight phase, 1 Ork Walker unit. Killicans, have they got the Ork Walker
You
keyword?
do.
Or they?
Yeah.
So it's basically going to be Stompers, Gorkanauts, Walkanauts, Killicans, and Death Dreads. Yeah. So each time you use a stratagem, you can choose to push it until the end of the phase. Add 2 to the strength characteristic of melee weapons equipped by models in your unit. And if you choose to push it until the end of the phase, add 1 to the damage characteristic of those weapons. They have the hazardous ability as well. Cool. So that's not bad for 1 CP. And then we've got Super Fuel Boiler. When in your movement phase, again for Ork Walkers, the unit until the end of the turn, you can reroll advance rolls made for your unit and ranged weapons equipped by rolls in your unit have assault. So that's good.
That one.
Yeah,
I love that one.
I can see that being good because you can just push everything forward, still shoot. Daka Daka Daka, that's Ork Walkers and Grot vehicles. Each time you use a stratagem, you can choose to push it until the end of the phase. Each time a modeling unit makes an attack, reroll a hit roll of 1. If you push it, you can reroll the hit roll instead until the end of the phase. Range weapons equipped by the modeling unit have hazardous ability. There's a theme going about hazardous in these strats. It also brings me that one to, we were told there's going to be less rerolls. Now, personally, I'm finding that you reroll more dice than ever in 10th.
Yeah. Oh, Dread Mob was the shooting phase was quite long, because I'd be like, roll to see what I get, roll to see how many shots I get on my D3 gun, or if I was using the mech gun, it was roll to see which bubble you get on the bubble chucker, and there was a lot of roll to see which ability you get on the button, roll to see what the bubble is, roll to see what hazardous, rerolls because your mechs give +1. If you put a mech with a mech gun, it's like reroll 1s, things like that. So it was a lot of like, shooting phase should be roll your dice, roll your hits, wounds, that's it. But this just felt like I rolled like 5 or 6 different types of dice.
Yeah.
But I liked it. I like the randomness of it. It's very orky. It's like, am my guns going to blow up? What do they do?
I like the randomness of it. I think the randomness element makes it fun. I mean, you could be really gamey and choose it and have hazardous, but I think the random element just makes it a bit more narrative, a bit more fun because orcs don't know what's going to happen when they do anything.
Yeah.
Conniving runts, that is on Gretchen units. When in your opponent's movement phase, after an enemy unit ends in a normal advance or fall back move, roll 1d6 on a 4 plus the enemy suffers d3 plus 1 mortal wounds. Okay. Your unit can then make a normal move. Did you try that one in the game?
I
Or
didn't
did
get to, actually, no. I wanted to, but I had my grots inside a truck with Zodrog Wartsnagger. But the enemy popped the truck, jumped straight into combat with the grots. The grots didn't really get to do the reactive move. So, and any time that my other grots got anything close to them, they were just outside of 9. So
And then we've got extra gubbins. That's the final strat. When you're in a permanent shooting phase, just after an enemy unit has selected its targets, again, that's Ork Walkers, Grot vehicles, but it excludes Titanic units. Until the end of the phase, each time an attack is allocated to a model in your unit, subtract 1 from the damage characteristic of the attack. So that's defensive, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, all in all, what did you think, or what did you think of the rules and everything for the Dreadnought? What did you take away from them? What did you find worked? What did you find didn't work?
I found where is it? Press it faster, 2 buttons. Putting that on some looters was great because I could get. I mean, looters it on 6s anyway.
Oh,
my lamp just fell off my desk. So yeah. Yeah, pressing 2 buttons on the looters was like I could take sustained and lethal, stand them still, and then I would get hit on 5s. Everything was sustained, lethal, and they were a great Overwatch. Great for the Overwatch strat. They kind of felt like they replaced flash kits a little bit in this attachment for a unit that could. My enemy moved on to the middle objective. And then because they get to reroll all the hits if you're on an objective, I get to reroll all the Overwatch shots. With lethals sustained, I did more than enough wounds to wipe out a unit that jumped on the objective. So I thought that was quite good.
okay. Before we move on to the next attachment, do you want to read out some of the questions that you got? We'll go through them.
Yeah. Actually, I'm just thinking if I even go onto my photos, it's going to probably close me off live in it, I think.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. Oh well. I did see one in the thing before. I think it was Grot's Irony asking where saying they killed off Nazdrag. Now, I think there was a rumor in one of the Tau books that Nazdrag had died. It was in the Arcs of Omens or something like that. Now this codex kind of alludes that he's not dead, because I did read a little bit about Nazdrag and that he's just kind of hiding somewhere, and it's kind of elusive to that he may be still alive. So I don't think Nazdrag is dead, but he doesn't have a model anymore. So yeah, that was one thing someone said in the chat.
I'm trying to refresh my memory into who he was, to be honest.
He was the Bad Moon war boss who joined Nazgul and teleported him down onto Armageddon.
Right, okay. Now I'm with you. When he said it in chat, I was like, I'm not actually sure who that is.
Yeah. He was like a really rich Bad Moon war boss, had loads of mechs and teleporter equipment, and yeah, Gaz sought him out and he teleported him down onto Armageddon in, I think, the third Armageddon, second Armageddon, one of the two.
Yeah. So the next attachment is the index one. That's Warhorde. So Warhorde hasn't really changed a lot from what I've seen.
No, not really.
From the index. So they've got get stuck in. So melee weapons equipped by Ork models from your army have the sustained hits 1 ability.
Yep.
Enhancement wise, you've got follow me lads. So while the bearer is leading the unit, add 2 to the move characteristics. Head whoppers, kill chopper. Ork models only. Melee weapon equipped by the bearer, excluding extra attack weapons, have the devastating wounds ability. Was that what you used to put on Road Gripper?
I would put it on in 9th. I would, yeah, because that was the same weapon in 9th.
Yeah,
on the bike.
Yeah,
no, it was actually the Killer Claw. No, head boxes, kill choppers. I have been putting it on the Beast Boss on Squigosaur or on the Knob on Smasher Squig. Now you can't because he's in the date sheet, but yeah, that one's really good, especially for something that has like an anti-vehicle 4 or 3. When you get that 3, it becomes a devastating wound, or a 4 becomes a devastating wound, so you just go straight through. It's quite nice.
And then we've got Cunning but Brutal. While the bearer is leading the unit, that unit is eligible to shoot and declare a charge at a turn in which it fell back. And then you've got Super Cyberwalk Body, which I used to put on Stephen, my war boss, in 9th. I've not played Walks in 10th. And that gives the bearer a feel no pain 4+ ability.
Yeah, I think
so. That
one's really good, especially if you put it on Deathkiller Wartrike. a Death Killer Wartrike and I gave it that ability, my opponent did 12 damage to a 9 wound model, and I rolled 11 4, 5s, and 6s. He did 1 damage to it with 12 instead of 12, so that was quite good.
And then strats wise, we've got Kareen, which I remember you used to like to use with your vehicles.
Yeah, I love.
So
Kareen.
that's on an Orc vehicle, and it's any phase just after an Orc's field unit from your army with a deadly demise ability is destroyed. Your unit can make a normal or full bat move before its deadly demise ability is resolved, and before any embarked units perform an emergency disembarkment. When making this move, your unit can move over enemy units as if they were not there. Orcs have never beaten. That's basically, is that fight on death?
Fight on
Without
death,
looking, yeah, fight on death. That's 2 CP. Unbridled Carnage. Until the end of the phase, each time modeling your unit makes a melee attack, an unmodified roll of a 5+ scores a crit. So basically, it's giving you sustained hits on a 5+, isn't it, instead of a 6?
It is, yeah.
Yeah,
The
again.
other thing what's quite nice with that is you can stack that with Makari, who Makari gives lethals in the war. So if you do Unbridled Carnage, the 5s become lethal because it becomes a crit. So you can get lethals and crits on 5s if you're within 12 inches of Makari. It's pretty nasty.
Yeah, that's not nice. Orders nails, that is Orc units excluding grots, monsters, and vehicle units until the end of the phase. Each time an attack targets your units, subtract 1 from the rune roll.
That's
So
the
-1
change on that one.
What
So it used to
was
be
it
able to
before?
use it on monsters. So you would use it on your beast boss on Squigosaur, Mozrog, Gargantuan Squigoth, and they've added the monster that you can't use it on monsters anymore. So that's probably the only thing that I think they've changed in the Warhorde kind of strats. I think.
So Cole Cooper Tattoos just asked, with Mega Knobs looking to be a solid pick and competitive list, how long will GW let this run? See, I haven't got any Mega Knobs. I would like Mega Knobs, but the price of Mega Knobs really puts me off because you need lots of them, and 3 of them are quite expensive.
Yeah, you need I think it's £45 a box from
Yeah,
GW.
from GW. Yeah.
The max you can take is 6 per, so it's like 18 total, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's quite expensive.
So I honestly think they'll let it run as long as they're selling Mega Knobs, to be
Yeah.
honest, because that's the name of the game. I don't think many people did buy Mega Knobs before just because of the price of them. I think they've always been pretty decent in game, but it's always been the price.
Yeah.
So now you've got a detachment which really involves them heavily. We'll get to that when we get to Bully Boys. So like you say, I think the cheapest I've seen him, I think Firestorm had him for like £34. That's the cheapest I've seen him.
Something like that. Yeah.
So you're still talking over £10 a model. So even at those prices, 10 of them, 16 of them, it's you're into hundreds of pounds to probably field them. But I have been looking at proxies for them, to be honest.
Yeah.
There are companies that make proxies.
I think people have been buying the like the AOS brutes. I think you get 5 in a box, and they look chunky enough to be put. You can put a power claw on them or a kill saw, and it still looks like it fit the 40mm base and not look like out of place. I think you get a bit more for your money that way.
And then we've got Mob Rule. So that's target 1 Orc mob unit from your army that contains 10 or more models and is not below half strength. Select 1 friendly battle-shocked Orc infantry unit within 6 inches of that mob that Orc infantry is. Now, I don't think that's a great rule, just taking battle shock or something, because me personally, battle shock doesn't play that big a part in the game. I don't think it's I think battle shock's it's a good idea, but don't think it's very well carried through.
Yeah, I think sometimes it's like say like a death dread, if it charges in and fights something, that unit can be battle shocked in that phase. But then as soon as it comes around to their phase, it's wiped and they have to do their battle shock test anyway. You know what I mean? So I think battle shock's like I have it matter where it's like you've got a squad of boys on an objective, but they're under half strength, and then if they're battle shocked, you lose that objective. So it makes a difference sometimes, but it's not the biggest. Yeah, I think where that no, actually that doesn't matter. I was gonna say if you really need to use a strat on them, but you're still gonna be spending a CP to use a strat on So you're gonna be. It basically makes us track 2 CPU rather than 1. I think if you want to use
Yeah,
it on that.
yeah. And then finally, we've got here we go. So start your movement phase. One Ork infantry unit can add +2 to advance and charge rolls made for you, which I can see being useful.
It's very
Um,
useful.
the Ork infantry obviously want to get up close and personal ASAP, unless they're litters of flare flash kits, etc.
Yeah.
So this what I mean, you played the Warhorde for nearly 12 months now. So has much changed, or is it pretty much the same? And how did you find
I
playing
think
Warhorde?
other than hard as nails and the changes to mob rule, because that used to be like your unit would still be battle shocked, but you could still use stratagems on them. So it was worse. They've made it slightly better, like, not battle shocked. It's actually a better change to that. Other than that, not much has changed, really. I still think it's really strong. I still think it's like, especially with the points going down. I think my Warhorde list was 2,000 points at the last RTT, dropped by like 250 points. So you could get a lot more orcs for your money and still run the Warhorde and it'd be good.
Did you say you got some questions through to you personally, or was it DM or?
Um, they were replies to my stories, but I just don't have them to hand at the minute. I print screen them all, but obviously I'm gonna have to go off Instagram to go and find them.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
So we're going to the big one, which is what we were talking about, which the combat patrol is basically.
hmm
So this is going to be Beast Snaggers. I'm going to let you talk us through this one
Okay.
because I've done a lot talking.
Yeah,
So I'm
yeah,
going to
no
let you talk
worries.
through this one.
Right. I think from what I've heard on this one as well is like this will be better for like smaller games. So if you're doing like 1,000 points, it'll be a lot better because you're not going to be like swamped your targets, things like that. But yeah, so this one is at the start of your command phase. This is the Hunters on. At the start of your command phase, select one monster, vehicle, or warlord from your opponent's army. If that opponent does not have is not on the battlefield or embarked on a transport, you can select a character. You basically get to basically choose your prey. Each time a beast snagger unit from your army declares a charge that includes your prey as one of your targets, you can reroll the charge roll. So reroll charges on your prey. And each time a beast snagger model from your army makes an attack that targets your prey, improves the AP characteristic of that attack by 1. So +1 AP, which is quite nice. I think that's pretty good. But it's like kind of like in the same way you do Oath the Moment. Like I'm gonna choose that unit, that is my prey, and then you only get the buff of the entire detachment rule on that unit that turn.
So I don't know about Beast Snaggers. I bought
Mm.
the when the Beast Snaggers first came out, when the
hmm
Ork Codex, was it 2021 when the 9th edition Codex came out?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
did buy. I've got Mosrog built over there. I've built the Smasher Squig, but I painted him. I had the Squig Hogs, but I haven't painted them. They're
hmm
just primed, and I primed. I built the Beast Snaggers. I got 10 Beast Snaggers and built them, and primed them as well. I just don't know how I feel about the models. Considering Beast Snaggers are supposed to be bigger than Orcs, I don't feel their models represent that very well.
What I did with mine, because I really hated the size of the heads on new orcs. They're so small and they lack the jaw that an orc should have, I think. They're very like a bit weak jawed looking orcs. I just put all old boy heads on all my beast snaggers and they look a lot better. I think the right up back on them looks quite good and yeah, I think they're pretty good. They're just I think they just need a few head swaps. So most orc collectors will have a bit box full of heads and just put old boy heads on them and they look a lot better, I think. But as a unit, they're really good. I think I really enjoyed playing beast snaggers.
Would you
Um, yeah.
consider using this detachment rule and playing a pure Beast Snaggers army?
I've got the models to do it. I it's just the one that just probably just interests me the least. I think it's too easy, especially saying like maybe in a fluffy game where it's like it makes sense. Or your opponent's going to be bringing a lot of vehicles or monsters, then you can go, yeah, that makes sense. But I think for like, say, for more like a competitive, say you're going to have 3 games at a tournament, there might be games where this just doesn't really work. You're not getting any benefit. You might target an enemy that's at the back of the field, and they'll go, "Oh, I'll just move them away then," and just run away from you. Then you get no detachment rule.
Yeah. So let's take us through the announcements then, Darren. Take
Yeah,
us through the
sure.
announcements then.
I do think the first one's really good, Glory Hog. So you put that on a beast boss on Squigosaur, and it basically gives him, and if you put him with some Squighog boys, Scout 9.
So Scout 9 is your pre-game move, isn't it?
Pre-game
Scout.
move, yeah. So you get to get your Beast Snagger Squighogs into the midboard turn 1 before you start. Yeah, I mean, if you call your War, they're going to get pretty easily into your opponent's objective back line turn 1, I think, from that, which is pretty good.
Okay.
The next one, Scrag Every Stash. Beast Snagger model only, so I think it's like on on anything really, but I think it basically gives you sticky objectives. So it says at the end of your command phase, if the bear is in range of one objective marker you control, that objective marker remains under your control, even if you have no models within range of it, until your opponent controls at the start or end of any turn. So yeah, sticky objectives.
So yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
sticky objectives is always useful.
Mm-hmm.
Especially, I mean, I don't know how elite the big hunt would be if you played it with pure beast snaggers, but sticky objective is useful for elite armies because you haven't got a lot of models, so board coverage is key, and you need to be able to move as well because you've got limited units. You can't stick a unit on an objective all day.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
Next
definitely
one.
think for orcs as well is like when I'm over playing orcs, I play like an orc. An orc doesn't want, if there's a fight in front of him, he doesn't want to stand on the objective and go, I'm going to score more points standing here than fighting that thing in front of me. You know what I mean? So I think having sticky is like, yeah, I get to walk off the objective now. The fight over there is so much better. I think it suits orcs. But I just don't think that is worth taking that much. When you can take proper killy, which is the next one, which
Yeah.
is add 1 damage characteristic to the melee weapons equipped by the bearer. Now, this would be great for something like a beast boss. So he gets dev wounds on the charge. He gets anti-vehicle 4 up, and you end up doing, yeah, he's gone down in points as well. So if you give him this, it's going to get 3 damage rather than 2. So you're going to be, and I've done 12 devastating wounds with one of those before, and that's with the 2 damage. So this with, that's obviously with like exploding stuff like that. Yeah, so this it's going to really up the damage capacity of the beast boss. I think it's great.
Then we've got Surly as a Squiggoth,
Yeah.
which I'm glad they've clarified has nothing to do with Squiggoths.
Yes, yeah, beast boss.
Squiggoths aren't in the codex anymore. We have got an announcement which mentions the name.
That seems to be a good theme in this codex of like, we're going to talk about everything that we've taken away from you just to rub it in a little bit more. Yeah, so while the bearer is leading a unit, each time attack targets that unit, if the strength characteristic of that attack is greater than the toughness, subtract 1 from the wound roll. So it just gives you kind of similar like Ada's nails in the last attachment. So -1 to wound if strength is greater than your toughness. And he's T8 now, so yeah. Anything
So it's
over
Beast Boss on Squigosaur, isn't it?
yeah, so anything over strength 8 will get -1 to wound if you put that on him. And his unit, I think. Oh, model only, no. Oh yeah, that unit. So you give it to your whole unit, so you give it to all the Squighogs, the Narbonne Smasher Squig, everything would get -1 to wound. Which they're quite a tanky unit. They're 3 wounds each, all got 5 up, feel no pains, so giving them -1 to wound as well is pretty good, I think. Yeah, it's probably
And then
worth
we've got
taking
6 rats.
Yeah, so we got Drag It Down, 1 Beast Snagger unit from your army that has not been selected to fight this phase. Until the end of the fight phase, melee weapons get sustained hits. In addition, each time a model in your unit makes a melee attack that targets the prey, a critical hit is scored on an unmodified roll of 5 instead of 6. So it's basically kind of like Unbridled Carnage from the index rolled into one with giving you crits, which is what the detachment ability is. It kind of just takes it back to the familiar thing from index on Beast Snaggers, really. It's quite good. 1 CP as well.
Yeah, there's only all their strats are 1CP,
Yeah,
aren't
yeah,
they?
it's quite good.
Then we've got Unstoppable Momentum.
Yeah. So your charge phase after a beast snagger mounted unit has made a charge move. Um, select one enemy unit with engagement range of your unit and roll 1d6 for each model in your unit. For each 4 plus, the enemy suffers 1 mortal wound to a maximum of 6 wounds. If that enemy unit is your prey, roll 3 additional d6. So I think it works out around like this will be uh, 8, 9, I think like up to 11 if you've got a full squad of these squigogs, you can get like 11 d6 and any 4s will be mortal wounds, which is quite cool.
And you got
It's
that
basically like
one.
tank shock for a mounted unit.
Yeah, yeah, it is, isn't it? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
D6 for each model unit. Yeah, that's pretty good for 1CP. Then you got that one's even bigger, which I think plays into the beast snaggers always going after massive monsters and vehicles and
Yeah.
things.
So when you do it is in your charge phase, 1 beast snagger unit from your army. Until the end of the phase, your unit is eligible to charge in a turn in which it advanced or fell back, provided that the target of the charge is your prey. So what you kind of get with these is like the stratagems do boost you a little bit. If it's with your prey, you get an extra bit of boost as well, which is quite cool. Um, yeah, yeah. But that one's strictly if it's your prey. Yeah, only that one. Cool.
And we've got where do you think you're going? That's beast snagger infantry, beast snagger mounted.
Yep. Uh, unit from your army that was in engagement range of an enemy unit. Start of this phase. If you So I think it's if they make a fallback move. If your unit is not within engagement range of 1 or more units, they can make a normal move up to 6. So it's like you get to make a 6-inch move if they fall back, which is quite nice because you could just jump onto a different objective or chase them down a little bit, ready for your next turn, stuff like that. I quite like reactive moves in 10th. I think it's quite cool.
Yeah, it gives you something to do as well when it's your opponent's turn, when you're reacting to something rather than just sitting watching them do stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, Stalking tactics, that's beast snagger infantry or beast snagger mounted again.
Yep. So unit from your army that is selected as a target for 1 or more of the attacking unit's attacks. Until the end of the phase, each time a range attack targets your unit, models in your unit get the benefit of cover against that attack. In addition, if your unit has the infantry keyword, until the end of the phase, you have stealth ability, so -1 to hit as well. So it's kind of like Beast Neggers lying in the grass, like being a bit more sneaky, and yeah, it's pretty cool.
Then we've
And
got
lastly,
instinct.
we've
Yeah,
sorry,
go on, go.
dude, no, go on, you're
No, I was going
end
to
of your
say we've got
opponent's
instinctive
fight
hunters.
phase. Got instinctive hunters. 1 beast snagger unit from your army that is not engagement range of 1 or more enemy unit. Remove that unit from the battlefield and place them into strategic reserves. So I
So
really like that one. I think that one's pretty cool.
So on the whole, I think you're right. It's probably one of the weaker detachments in the Codex, but it's still all right. It's
Yeah,
still
it's
not.
fun. It's fun and fluffy. I think it looks cool. They do have some good strats. I think that instinctive hunters to be able to like maybe you've got 2 CP, you could charge them in, do the unstoppable momentum, do some mortal wounds, finish off the unit in combat, and then you could pick up all your squigs, put them into strategic reserves, and bring them back in next turn somewhere else on the board. I think that's really fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I think that's the theme here that runs through all the detachments, even the Warhorde. I mean, the Warhorde's basically watered down Goths from
Yeah.
9th
Yeah.
edition. But I think every detachment has got something that's very fluffy to what they are. If you compare that to the Custodes Codex, where I just feel like it was that'll do. The Ork Codex seems to be someone who wrote the Ork Codex actually likes
Yeah.
orcs
Yeah.
and wants to make them feel fun to play. Whereas whoever wrote the Custodes Codex is devoid of a personality. Um, so, um, so we've got the Cult of Speed, which I didn't know whether, because I didn't know whether that would be down your street as well, because you do like your vehicles.
I do. I do. I think this is going to be probably one of the hardest to play. Especially speaking from someone who goes to tournaments, like competitively, I think if people test play this list, it could be really good. I think there's a lot of potential in it, but I don't think it's the one that stands out as the strongest. Um, I don't know if vehicles and stuff at the minute though are still just like it doesn't buff shooting that much. So and I don't think buggies are. I don't think the rules are written well enough for that. A lot of buggies are just still kind of unplayable. But I think it's going to be fun. I think it's got some potential for this one. And it does have a really nice little nod to something from ninth in one of the announcements on this one.
So the detachment rule for the cult of speed is speed feats units from your army are eligible to shoot in a turn in which they advanced or fell back, which is all right. It's not too bad. It gives you the alludes to wheeled units being able to go in, shoot, and sod off. So it's thematic. It works. So your first announcement is Was Blaster, which is on your Death Killer War Tribe, which I know you've got one.
I do. Yeah.
So in your shooting phase, after the bearer's unit is shot, if it's not within engagement range of one or more enemy units, it can make an all move up to 6 inches. If it does until the end of the turn, it's not eligible to declare a charge. What are your thoughts on that one, the scene as you've got a Death Killer War Tribe?
I like it because I think the max movement on a Death Killer War Trike anyway is because he gets auto advance 6 um, when he's in a squad of bikes. So you're getting a potential, what's that? 24-inch movement turn 1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you break it down like that, yeah, that's not bad. Okay.
I think why that'd be good as well is because you can do what? Move up the board 18, still shoot because you can advance and shoot. They have assault anyway. Then you can do a 6-inch move there and then just kind of screen along their deployment and kind of block them in a little bit. I think that's quite cool.
Oh, Sam's just asked a question which is right up your street. So, do you think, with all the references to grot vehicles in the Codex, was meant for more of the Forge All units? Wouldn't they have just said killer cans? As I don't think there are any other grot vehicles.
The only other grot vehicle is mech guns. Yeah, so mech guns get it, but I do think they would definitely hint into Forge World units, so people would buy them and then decided not to bother.
Or we could be
Taking
optimistic. We could be optimistic on this one and say maybe down the line we're going to see plastic grot tanks.
Plastic grot tanks would be great if they could do that, but when will that be? 11?
I know I
13?
can't remember what. I know Bridges, the Custodians player. There's a big old player. I can't remember his name at Tabletop Titans, and he has got 40 grot tanks.
Yeah.
Which he now can't use.
Yeah. I've seen people who have piles and piles of grot tanks. There's a guy who comes to the local RTT, and even when they've not been meta, all the way through 9th, 10th, whatever, he's played an army full of grot tanks. I've been speaking to people about this who've replied to my stories going, I didn't care about the meta, I never play the meta, I just want a grot army, so I play grot tanks. And all these people that have spent a lot of money on Forge World models now can't play.
So Sam says, I lost my Mecha Stomper, Mecha and Mega Dreads, grot tanks, etc.
Yeah. Well, I made my Stomper at the end of 9th, and I made it spec to the 9th Stomper, which was the Mecha Stomper, the one with the belly gun, with the lifter dropper, all that, and then they took. So I've lost that, and then I was going to turn a Redemptor Dreadnought into a Mecha Dread for the Dread mob. So I was like, oh, a Dread that can go around fixing other Dreads will be great. Glad I didn't do that now, because I'd have just wasted a Redemptor Dreadnought model.
So what I've said to you in the group chat, but I don't know if everyone's aware, one of the reasons behind a lot of, obviously, when 10th was released, a lot of Space Marine units, Forge All units were scrapped, which they used the excuse of they were relics and you didn't see many of them. But then they did the same thing for Chaos Space Marines, which is ridiculous because a lot of Chaos Space Marine tech is 10,000 years old because they haven't got any new stuff. But one of the reasons behind it is Games Workshop and Forge World, even though they're the same company, on their spreadsheets they run them as separate companies. So if you buy a Forge World unit for Warhammer 40k, it goes onto Forge World's spreadsheet. It doesn't go onto Games Workshop spreadsheet. And they don't want that because because what they want is it to be separate. So a lot of this Forge World stuff being crossed out is, in the case of the 30k stuff, the Space Marine stuff, so you can only use it in Heresy, so it will only go on Forge World's products. And then they're trying to drive you to buy just Games Workshop stuff for 40k. And the only real faction that's got away with it unscathed is Custodians, just purely because the range is so small, it'd be very boring without them. So it really comes down to money at the end of the day. It's sad, and I think it's ridiculous. You've got two arms of the same company basically competing against each other, but they don't want Forge World models being used in 40k because it doesn't go on to Games Workshop's profit and loss. That's what it comes down to. And so back to the announcements. Thanks, Sam, for the question. Faster than news, Orcs infantry only. That surprises me that you got an announcement for Orc infantry with this being a Cult of Speed detachment. You would have thought it would all be vehicles, but there's another one where it says Orc models. And so Orc infantry only. Each time the bearers unit disembarks from a transport, after that transport has made a normal move, the bearers unit is still eligible to declare a charge this turn. So that's basically an assault ramp, isn't it?
Yeah, it's basically assault ramp, or what we call in 9th truck boys.
Truck boys, yeah, truck boys,
exactly. Where you could get out of the truck and still, although I think truck boys used to be able to move and advance and charge if it was the war.
Yeah.
This is a bit more like disembark and charge.
I remember the game we played last year at Warhammer World when your truck just basically covered the entire board and charged my was it the Nurglings you charged? I was like, the plague bearers, and I was like,
plague bearers.
Oh, okay, I didn't know you could do that. I thought I was far enough away.
Yeah, I just kept shooting your Nurglings.
Yeah,
everything was shooting.
You kept shooting the Nurglings and you charged the plague bearers in one turn. And was it all knobs you had truck boys on as well? I'm pretty sure they were chunky guys. They came flying out of this truck. It's like, oh, okay. Then you've got Squig Hide Tires. That again is for the Death Killer Wartrike. Is that a HQ model?
Yeah, I think it's the only HQ that is a vehicle.
That makes
so that's why it's only on. So because they've got rid of the War Boss and War Bike, it would have been he could have took it, but they got rid of the Forge World model. So yeah, that's why it's Death Killer.
So this one gives each time model in the bearer's unit, so that's in the unit, makes a consolidation move. It can move up to 6 inches instead of up to 3. So that's okay. Yeah. I wouldn't. It's all right. The only thing about consolidation is obviously if you're going to go into base to base with someone, they get free attacks on you, which is. And then you've got speed makes right Orc model only in your command phase. If the bearer gets into the transport, it's within 9 inches of one of your energy units. Well, 1d6 on a 3+, you gain 1 CP. It's okay.
It's all right. It just kind of is slightly better than the Grots on your own objective that you went on the 4-up. So, sorry, what you were saying as well about the one before, the Squig Ag Ties, I just thought while you were so the consolidation move is all right because a 6-inch doesn't necessarily mean into the enemy. You can do it onto an objective. So you could get a 6-inch move back onto an objective would be pretty good. And just be like, no, this is mine with your 6 war bikers and Death Killer Wartrike. Could be all right.
You're right. It doesn't stake towards an nearest enemy unit, does it? So.
But I do think it's all right.
Yeah. It's not the worst. It's not the best. And then they've got the 6 strats. Speediest freaks, so that's for speed freaks or trucks in your opponent's shooting phase. So again, it's reactive. Until the end of the phase, models in unit have a 5+ invul save. If your unit is a vehicle with an unmodified toughness characteristic 8 or less. Until the end of the phase, models in unit have a 4+ invulnerable save instead. So that's not bad.
Yeah, it's all right. It's pretty good.
And then you've got Squig Flinging. I'm guessing that's going to be okay. So in your movement phase, and that's on a speed freaks or truck unit, and it's just after the speed freak or truck unit from your army ends a normal advance or fall back move. Select one enemy unit within 9 inches of your unit. That enemy must take a battle shock test. When doing so, strap from the results. Again, it's battle shock. I'm not big on strats that affect battle shock.
Yeah. The only thing, I mean, this is, you know what I mean? What I think with this is what? You're going to spend 1 CP to make them take a battle shock test, which they could pass, and then you just got lost CP.
You lost a CP. I mean,
Yeah, and
mine's
then it's like,
one,
yeah,
but you know, if you've got like an elite army, Space Marines have got a decent morale. Obviously, Custodians, Necrons all
yeah,
got big morale. It's going to be effective against certain armies, I think.
yeah. I guess, yeah, you do it on some Space Marines, and then you shoot them afterwards. They might go to Armor of Contempt. You see, you can kind of turn off Armor of Contempt, maybe, depending on a dice roll
Yeah,
for 1 CP.
yeah,
Yeah,
true.
I'm not really that bothered about that one.
But again, all the stratagems for speed, call speed, 1 CP.
Yeah,
So, Daka Storm in your shooting phase. 1 speed fix unit from your army that has not been selected to shoot this phase. Until the end of the phase, ranged weapons equipped by models in your unit have sustained hits 1 ability, while targeting a unit within 9 inches, they have sustained hits 2 ability instead. A unit cannot be targeted by this, and the Blitzer fire stratagem in the same phase, which is fair enough.
yeah,
That's pretty good, to be fair.
yeah. I think
That
that
looks all right.
on some bikers would be great. If you get the bikers up within 9, I think they have +1 AP as well. I think the biker's ability is you get +1 AP if you're within 9. So this stacked with that would be, yeah, a lot of shots. 'Cause I think bikers at the minute lack volume. But you've got twin linked, sustained it's 2 if you're quite close up with an AP1. That's like decent orc shooting, I think. I think that's where we want to be. I think that makes bikes good. I think that will.
Yeah, I haven't looked at bikes
Mm,
in the codex yet. I'm just trying to find them
yeah.
because start again. You use quite a few, but I mean, as I remember, you had quite a few bikes. You made your own.
Yeah. Got a lot of bikes. So that one's a Space Marine bike, and then I've got. So I made these as my knobs on war bikes, which are also gone, but they're made from the Outriders. Yeah. So I've got quite a few bikes. I liked the idea of just having like a horde of bikes in.
Yeah, it is cool.
Mm.
So that's a unit size of a bike. So it's 2 to 5
6.
bikes and a boss on wall bike. So it's three. I guess it's 3 to 6, isn't it?
Yeah.
So three is your smallest one, and you've got ability to drive by Daka. Each time model in this unit makes a range attack within 9 inches, improve the armor penetration of that attack by 1. So you can stack that.
Yeah, that stacks with the Deathkiller Wartrike, who has a melter, basically. So you can give him an extra AP on a melter, which is
And you stack that with Daka Storm as well
yeah,
within 9, because you're getting on a +1 armor penetration within 9. Then you can give them sustained hits 2 as well.
yeah, yeah.
That's
I think
that's pretty tasty for 1 CP.
yeah, that makes me want to play bikes. Darker Storm.
Yeah,
That feels
that's
like
pretty good.
bikes in ninth, which is why I love them so much. Yeah,
Yeah. I can see me maybe getting in some bikes, and I've seen that. But yeah, okay.
yeah.
So Sam's coming again. So from looking at the codex, what would you say is the most competitive clan, most competitive unit, and most competitive character?
Okay, there's a few. I'm gonna say probably most competitive detachment is probably gonna be Bully Boys. Yeah, which is called 2 wars for anything that's a knob or a war boss. I think it's going to be horrible for everybody
Yeah,
else.
I said that on the stream with Steve from Vanguard Tactics on
Mm.
Tuesday. I thought it was going to be Bully Boys. He seems to think it's going to be Green Tide.
I think Green Tide's going to be very strong. I think we've seen it with Tyranids, where you take a swarm of Tyranids and you can just swamp the board. I think it's quite competitive. I think Green Tide will be competitive, but I don't think everybody's going to play um,
Yeah,
120 boys.
I tried a Green Tide. I was sitting in the shop waiting for my turn to play Etcher and Panzer, and I was on the app and I did a Green Tide list, and I haven't got enough boys.
No,
I have got enough boys, but they're not painted.
yeah.
I've got like 50 boys painted and probably another 60 boys upstairs.
Hmm.
And I thought to make this list really work, I'd need to paint the other 60. And I
Yeah.
don't know if I'm up for that. I just really don't know. And then
You
you've
should
got
just.
to moving 110 boys across the table. It's like, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the max is 120. I think I'm up to about, not painted, I think I can reach about 100. I think if I proxy my commandos and be snaggers in, I could probably do 120.
Yeah, Carnage Competitive just said you'll get timed out with Green Tide most likely at an event. It's just it's moving those boys that fast.
Yeah.
You'd have to invest in some movement trays. I don't see any other way you're going to do
I
it.
think movement trays. Yeah, weird boy, so you can jump them. So it'd be nice and easy if it's on a movement tray, pick them up and put them over the side of the board, stuff like that. I think. So I still think Bully Boys is going to be the. I went to a tournament the other day and everyone was like talking about Bully Boys like they were scared of it because they know I play Orcs, so they were saying Bully Boys.
Yeah,
I think it buffs one of the strongest units in Codex as well for 2 turns.
I think
Because
what Steve was saying with Green Tide is if you got your weird boys and you're just jumping all over the place, then
yeah,
that's going to be you're going to have very mobile, very hard to kill because he was saying you haven't got enough bullets. And to be fair, if you're feeling 120 Orc boys, most armies haven't got enough bullets. Well, now they've got the invul on them.
yeah,
And you're just jumping them all over the place. Yeah, you haven't got enough bullets to kill them all.
yeah,
But it is going to be you've got to be really, I think, tight with that list.
yeah.
You've got to be really down with your movement. You've got to get everything slick because you will get timed out because moving that many boys could take a while.
That's why I don't think it's the strongest.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think if you're really quick on the clock, moving fast, know what you're doing with that unit. I think it'd be like it's like plain Orcs. If you're very experienced, you know what you're doing. You'll do good. Well, yeah.
So most competitive units, Sam said as well. What we thinking for that?
I think it's going to be Mega Knobs. Everyone's screaming about Mega Knobs right now. We'll see, because I think the more you play the Codex, the more you play different units, you go, oh, actually, I can figure out this is going to work. I think that happened a lot with the Index, is people were ranting and raving about one unit at the beginning and then points increase or something else, or even just meta changes. Like at first, no one was playing Commandos, and then everyone started playing Space Marine Scouts or Sagittars for the Votan, and then people started bringing Commandos. And then Commandos were suddenly, you were seeing a lot more of them because they were able to stop the Scouts. So I think it depends on meta. It depends on the way, what people are bringing, what other people are playing, things like that also will change it. So, but at the minute, I think, yeah, Mega Knobs. I think they're really strong in multiple detachments. They can get different buffs from different ones. I think they'll be, yeah.
And then most
And
competitive character.
I'm going to say Gazville. I think he's had a little bit of a glow up.
I think you can't go wrong with Gaz.
No.
I was going to say Gaz because I want to play Mosrog. I've never played Mosrog. I've had that model painted in 2021, so nearly 3 years, and I've never ever used it in a game. Because in ninth you couldn't use him unless you were playing Blue Snaggers.
That's why I didn't until.
And I haven't used him I haven't played Orcs in 10th. The only model I am familiar with is Gaz from when I've done like one-on-one bat reps. So I mean, Gaz is T6, 2 up save, 10 wounds, 6 up leadership, OC of 4, but he's obviously comes with Makari now as a pair. Makari gives him another OC of 1, and obviously you go on Makari's 2 up invul beforehand. So that's good because you've got to target Makari before you can get near him. And a 2 up invul, and then he's got a 4 up invul himself. And then he's he's leading a unit. Obviously, you can only lead Mega Knobs. But then again, that feeds into the Bully Boys really well.
Well, he's gained the War Boss keyword as well. So Gaz didn't have the War Boss keyword until now.
Yeah,
it's weird because he's
got
the War
infantry
Boss.
character, epic hero, War Boss. So when he's leading that unit, they had +1 to the hit, +1 to the rule wound, and if you called a war this turn, critical hit score on the 5 unmodified 5 instead of 6.
So it's the same thing as well. Is he'll get exploding 5s on his sweep attack or his big attack, but Makari is the key there because
Makari
on the war
and
is going to be
12 inches of Makari gets lethal hits on a war as well.
So lethal on 5s, sustained on 5s.
Yeah, I just don't think you can go wrong with Gaz. I really don't. I think he's very, very, very strong. I mean, he's not as physically strong as he was in 9th, but his buffs are a lot better. And then you stick him in a unit of 6 mega knobs, and that's a really hard to kill unit.
They've got a 2 up save, put them in cover, things like that. They're going to be horrible.
So Sam says, I'm actually more excited to get back into my Orcs than I have starting any of the 40k projects. Seems like a really positive codex for competitive minis. the Forge World deletions. Yeah, the Forge World deletions are a pain if you've got a lot of Forge World stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I feel for anyone who's got Forge World stuff. I mean, I wanted to put Leviathan Dreadnoughts into my Space Marines. Luckily, I didn't do that before they dumped Forge World stuff out of that. I was thinking about pointing, you can put Leviathan Dreadnoughts into Chaos. Well, you could put Leviathan Dreadnoughts into Chaos as well, and you can't anymore. So yeah, I've got a Contemptor which I was going to use for 30k and 40k. Can't use it anymore. But I think we haven't finished going. We're nearly through the Codex. We haven't quite finished it yet. But I think, as a whole, this Codex is one. It's going to be competitive. They've got more than one detachment that can compete as well.
I like that. I don't like there just being like everyone in Necrons or whatever plays like one detachment. It's the strongest. I think this kind of has a lot more flexibility to what you can play and still do well with it, I think. And it feels orky. It feels fluffy.
Yeah, I think every detachment, I went through all the detachments this afternoon, and I think every detachment has got something unique about it as well. Every detachment, Cult of Speed, you're pushing into Dakar, you're going into speed, you're getting in and out of stuff, you're getting fast, that fits it. Green Tide, just massive and massive for boys. The ones we've gone through, like the Big Hunt and Dread Mob, Ork Mix, just pressing that button and seeing what it does. Squigogs and the Beast Snaggers, focusing on taking down big stuff. Yeah, I think it's a fun and competitive codex, which just makes me wonder things like Admech Codex and Custodes Codex, who wrote those? Because can we have the person that wrote this codex writing all the codex?
Yeah.
So
I think the thing as well is if the Ork Codex hadn't been fluffy, if it hadn't fit Orcs very well and just been like a generic codex, I think there'd have been an uproar, because from what I know of been in like Orc forums, Orc communities, like speaking to other Orc players, is no two Orcs are the same. Some people have evil sons and they just collect buggies. Some people like big stompy things. Some people like Green Tide. Yeah, I mean, it's a bit lacking from this codex, but like you get people like Blood Axes, or they'll build a pure like Grot army and just do like a Grot rebellion. Yeah, so I think they've done enough that people will be happy with this.
Yeah, I mean, Orcs are always just fun to play.
Yeah.
As you know, when we did the narrative event a couple of years ago, I just took a Stomper.
Yeah.
And I just took a Stomper and some stuff. I'm still not happy with Stompers. They're still 800 points.
That's ridiculous. I am gutted because I was building a second one and I have a third one unbuilt, and I really wanted to run 3 Stompers, and I can't.
But I was so shocked that like Gorkanauts is 280.
Yeah.
So you can buy three and a bit Gorkanauts for a Stomper.
Yeah. Yeah. Unfortunately, I think they should have been around. I've heard people saying 500, which I think is maybe a bit cheap.
There was, I think, 675.
I think 650 would have been if you compare it to like a big night, something like that. The thing's hitting on 5s anyway. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I like
fun.
I
just don't think they're worth 800 points.
I just can't see. I can't see me ever using one on a list unless I just wanted to laugh.
Yeah.
I
think put it in a dread mob. Put it in a dread mob with a mech, giving it +1 to hit, so it hits on 4s. Use the reroll all hits stratagem on it, and it's going to delete everything it shoots.
Yeah, because I could do. I thought it worked out. I could do a dread mob with my Stomper, my Gorkanaut, Death Dread, some killer cans, some mechs.
Yeah.
And that'd be it.
The one thing we didn't mention when we went over the dread mob as well, which I really like, and I'm now gonna have to build a lot more of them, is Gretchen gain battle line.
Yes, yeah, they do.
So you can take 120 Gretchen in a dread mob.
Yeah, that gives me images of them all running all over the walkers as well, trying to bang them with spanners.
Yeah, I think that, and it's like the mechs let them all out. It's like, because mechs have keep around grots, don't they, to help them fix things. Feels very fluffy. It's like they've all just come running out of the mech's workshop. There's Gretchen everywhere. Like, you know what I mean? It's like they're fixing the Stomper. Suddenly the enemy turns up. All the Gretchen stop what they're doing, run into the battlefield. There's 120 of them.
And you can paint 120 Gretchen a lot quicker than you can paint 120 boys.
Exactly, yeah.
So you smash. You could smash through Gretchen. I think a Gretchen takes me about half an hour to
Yeah.
fully paint. So
Yeah,
yeah.
I think I've actually got the do you know the I can't remember what it's called. You know the AOS magazine? I
Yeah.
ended up picking one of those, had 20 of the ones with the hoods,
Oh, the
like the bloom
looms,
spikes.
the
Yeah,
loose
yeah.
one.
So I picked up 20 of them in one magazine. So I think they'll be getting turned into 40k Gretchen.
Yeah, yeah. I like the Gretchen models as well. I wish they just had more. What we got through Carnage competitive. They shouldn't need to move all that much either. Just leave puddles of them on objectives. Yeah, well, that's it. That's what Gretchen are useful for. If you've got lots of them, you can just stick them on objectives. People aren't really going to be shooting at them because they've got more important things to worry about, like Stompers and Gorkanauts and Dreadnoughts. They aren't really worried about the Grots.
Ah,
They're worried about them because they're the ones
that's
deleting the
that's it.
unit.
I think if you've got 120 Gretchen in, because they're in 20 blobs as well, plus two runt herds, it's going to take a lot of their shooting to chew for all your little chaff. And
Yeah.
then all the dreadnoughts and killer cans and whatnot are all moving up and
Yeah, and
not
you
being
can't
shot. So
you
it's like
can't
choose one or
ignore.
the other, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
You either stop me scoring or you stop me killing you.
yeah,
Um,
you can't ignore big stompy things that are going to kill your units either. You've got to deal with them. You can't just ignore a stomper. At the end of the day, you'd be very silly if you did.
yeah,
Um, So then we've got Blitzify, which was mentioned in Dakar Storm. Your shooting phase, speed freaks again. Until the end of phase, range weapons equipped by models in your unit have their lethal hits ability, and each time model in your unit makes an attack, targets within unit 9 inches. So a target unit within 9 inches, a critical hit is scored on a modified roll of 5 instead of 6. See, now you can't use Dakar Storm with this,
yeah.
but you can use Macari with it
Uh,
because Macari's units within. Is it was
I think it might
Macari gets
only
hit.
be melee, I think, on that one.
Is it only melee?
Yeah,
I was going to say, 'cause that's what. Let me just double check. Oh, yeah, it's melee.
yeah.
I just thought, well, you can negate that with Macari, but you're right, it's
Yeah, that would
melee.
be good. Yeah.
Yeah, you could just go, I don't need that because I can just stack it with Macari instead. Then you got full throttle. In your speed fix again. When you in your charge phase, just after speed creature unit from your army ends a charge move until the end of the turn. Each time modeling your unit makes a melee attack that's +1 to wound.
Mm.
Again, it's not bad for one
Yeah.
CP.
If you're going into, say, throwing bikes into something that's a bit like throwing bikes into a vehicle because you want to tie it up, and then you go, I'm going to give it +1 to wound, so I might do a bit of damage to that vehicle on the way in. Maybe. Yeah, it's not too bad.
And then more gets over here. Target at the end of your opponent's move phase, so it's reactive again. After an enemy unit ends a normal, advance, or fall back move, one speed for units from your army that is within 9 inches of that enemy unit and is not within engagement range of one or more enemy units can make a normal move up to 6
Hmm.
inches. That's very similar to the Custodes one
Mm.
with it in the Talons. So yeah, you basically get the move for you within 9, so you can move towards them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's not
just kind
bad.
of maybe like stop them from getting an objective, put a thing or whatever, you know what I mean? Like say you were starting an objective, they come forward to you, they're going to charge you, they're going to kill you anyway, and then react. Then they'll be able to consolidate 3 onto the objective. You might just stop them from taking that objective by using that, by coming closer to them and going, "Oh, I'm going to let you be here." You now can't consolidate 3 inches onto the objective. You stop them scoring,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah,
good. Yeah.
it's all right. I mean, for one CP, I don't think any of those stratagems are bad.
Yeah.
Some are obviously better than others, but on the whole, it's a
Yeah,
CP.
some are very situational, I think, and yeah, they might come up every now and again, like kind of Kareen. You know what I mean? When you roll a 6, you want to move your vehicle, it's going to explode. Very like situational, but I think some of these are situational, like the squig fling and things like that. But some of them are just great, like the shooting ones especially, because I think that's what Ork vehicles lack right now. I think they needed these strats just to give them that boost.
Yeah. And then we move on to Green Tide, which was described as toxic by the So attachment rules mob mentality. So each time an attack targets a boys unit from your army, models in that unit have a 5+ invul save against that attack. In addition, each time an attack targets a new Ork unit from your army, if it contains 10 or more models, you can re-roll saving throws of 1, which makes again, I like that because I like taking big blobs of 20 orcs.
Yeah.
And that gives you the reason to do it. Because you'll be you've got a 5+ invul and you can re-roll your ones.
Mm-hmm.
Makes them all of a sudden it makes them really hard, a lot harder to kill, especially because they're T5 anyway.
Yeah.
So
I'm just going to make a little point as well. Can we remember that rule for in a bit?
Okay.
Because there's something that I've heard people talk about, and it's nasty, and we'll see why a certain unit is the most meta unit in this detachment.
Go on, just do it now. Tell us now. Go
so, okay, if you want to read the Raucous Warcaller, so the bottom announcement.
The Raucous Warcaller, yeah. So, Orc model only, while the bearer is leading the unit. That unit always counts as containing 10 or more models. Okay, yeah. I see where you're going with that.
So if you put this on a mega armored war boss with mega knobs, even though there's only 6 of them, they count as having 10.
Mega knobs, what the board's keyword?
This enhancement doesn't need.
Yeah, but it affects your
attachment
rule. The
attachment rule says, in addition, each time an attack targets an orcs in your unit, it doesn't say boys in that part.
Oh, for the reroll ones.
So
right, yeah. You don't get the fight. You've got an invul on them anyway. You've got an invul on Mega Knobs anyway.
They have a 2-up save, and you can put them in cover, so they'll always get a 2-up save. Rerolling ones.
Yeah. So, because I mean, Mega Knobs are basic Terminators, so they've definitely got an invul. They don't need a 5+ invul, do they?
No, they've got a. I don't know if they've got an invul, but they've got a 2-up save.
They had. Let me just have a look because I'm intrigued now.
They've got a 4-up feel. Sorry.
Is it a feeling of pain? Carnage competitive drop off. It's cracking show so far. Great help for me to take. Yep, fine. Thanks, mate. Thanks for joining us.
Just want to give a little shout out to Carnage Competitive as well. He sells some T-shirts with my designs on as well. So
is that the guy?
Anybody who's looking,
yeah, that's cool. They're cool. I know they haven't got an invul. You're right. They've got a 2-up save.
Yeah, and on the wall they get a 4-up feel no pain.
But they've got a 4-up feel no pain, so it's better than an invul, really.
Yeah. But if you put that Raucous Warcaller on a war boss with Mega Knobs, they are not going to go anywhere the entire game if you can
they're going
have a 2-up saving, unless you've got a lot of AP.
2-up save. I'm guessing the T6. Yeah, T6.
Yeah, they are, yeah.
So T6, 2-up save. They get to reroll ones on the saving throws, and then they've got a 4-up feel no pain. Yeah, that's going to be a really hard unit to kill.
Yes. And that's why Mega Knobs are probably the most meta unit in the game.
Yeah. If you use them in Green Tide, definitely. Yeah. So, announcement-wise, we've covered the Raucous Warcaller. You've got Ferocious Show Off. So, each time the bearer fights while resolving those attacks, add +1 to the strength characteristic of the bearer's melee weapons. If the bearer contains 10 or more models, add 3 to the strength characteristic instead.
Mm-hmm.
That's not bad.
No, you can stack that with the WAR as well. So
I
think
that's
makes a war boss with a power claw strength 14 on the WAR.
Yeah, so you're going to be worrying land raiders with that. Yeah, that's pretty good. Brutal but cunning. In your command phase, if the bearer is on the battlefield or embarked with a transport that's on the battlefield, roll 1d6, adding 2 to the result. If the bearer's unit contains 10 or more models on a 5+, you gain 1 CP. All right?
It's all right, yeah. It's basically you're getting a slightly better chance of getting your CP than your grots on your home objective.
And then you've got Bloodthirsty Belligerents. While the bearer is leading the unit, you can reroll advanced rolls made for that unit. While that unit contains 10 or more models, you can reroll charge rolls for that unit as well. That could be useful on a big blob of 20 boys with sluggers and choppers. That's the word I'm looking for.
Yeah.
And then strats wise, we've got competitive streak in the fight phase. Target 1 boys unit from your army. Until the end of the phase, each time modeling your unit makes an attack, reroll a wound roll of 1. If your unit contains 10 more models, reroll the wound roll. That's not bad either.
That's really good, and it's a lot more rerolls 10th, even though 10th wasn't meant to have many rerolls.
Yeah, again, a lot of the stuff is rerolls, and yeah. There's a lot of rerolls going on. I think to a point, rerolls are fun if you're using them. Rerolls aren't fun if you're having them used against you.
Exactly, yeah.
I think that's the problem with rerolls. I think it takes away the drama sometimes. So if you go in and you roll, I don't know, 6 ones, and you needed to roll, so you roll 10 to hit, and you need to hit with 5, 10 wounds, you need to win with 5 to kill the character or whatever you're doing, and you roll, say, 6 ones, and you're thinking, great, my character's going to live, and then they go, well, I can reroll ones, and it's like, oh,
yeah.
and that moment's gone then.
I think there is some things where it just takes out the kind of chance of dice a little bit. When you need to re-roll, you can do the math, you can figure out that if you're re-rolling stuff. I've done it with beast snaggers, where you're just fishing for sixes because you get to re-roll anything against vehicles and monsters, and
so you
can definitely up the damage by re-rolling everything. But that's why that makes it quite nice for orcs.
We've got Bulldozer Brutality in the fight phase on boys units that has not been selected to fight this phase and is within engagement range of 1 or more enemy units until the end of the phase. Each time a unit is selected to fight, when determining which models in your unit are eligible to fight. Any unit that's within 3 inches of 1 or more enemy models are eligible to fight. When resolving these attacks, such models can target one of these enemy units. This is really wordy. Within 3 inches of them within engagement range of the unit. Right, so it just means you can get more boys into fighting.
It basically undoes the new rule of base
within
to base,
base to
within
base.
base to base.
Yeah, within
to just a
base.
3-inch aura from that.
Yeah, which is good because you're never going to get a big blob of 20 in, get them all in at once, but you can if you play that.
Yeah.
But that is so wordy. That is just so wordy. Bragging rights in your command phase, 2 boys units from your army that are within 6 inches of each other until the start of your next command phase. While those 2 units are within 6 inches of each other, they both count as containing 10 or more models for the purpose of the attachment rule. Any enhancement models from your army and any stratagem you use. So so if you're below 10 but you're within, okay, that's okay. It's not
that's
brilliant.
all right. It's like if you've got a couple of boys that are down to there's 8 in each, whatever, with a war boss, and then you throw that on them, and they're both back up to getting the full.
And you've got come on lads in your command phase on boys units. Return up to D3 plus 2 destroyed models to your unit, excluding character models. That used to be the old Green Tide rule for me, where you could just bring stuff back. Yeah, that's pretty strong for 1 CP.
The other thing as well is you can stack that with a pain boy.
Yeah.
So you put a pain boy in your 20-man unit, bring back D3 plus 2 and D3. So basically 2D3 plus 2.
So you're going to be bringing minimum. You're going to be bringing minimum 4 models back.
Yeah.
Maximum is going to be 8. That's not bad at all. Tied a muscle, which I seem to remember from 9th. Your charge phase. 1 boys unit from your army that has not declared a charge this phase until the end of the phase. Each time your unit declares a charge, add the current battle round number to the charge roll. That's not bad.
Yeah, it's really good.
And then finally, you've got Go Get 'em and your opponent's shooting phase, so it's a reactive one. 1 boys unit from your army that was selected as a target of 1 or more attacking units. After the attacking unit is shot, your unit can make a go get and move. To do so, roll 1d6. Each modeling unit can move distance in inches up to the result, but your unit must end the move as close as possible to the closest enemy unit. When doing so, those models can be moved within the engagement range of that enemy unit. If your unit contains 10 or more models, it can move 6 inches when making that move instead. So that is a bit like the Blood Surge for the World Eaters. Only you don't have to take damage. You have to kill them both for Berserk.
With this one, you don't have to take damage, but you just have to pay for it. 1 CP.
Yeah.
But it's nice. It's nice. It feels orky. I think
it does feel orky because
reusing rolls and
they're gonna go. Yeah, orcs just want it. Unless you're playing a massively shooty orc army, so you orcs want to get into melee at the end of the day. That's what they want to do. That's what they do.
And I think, am I right in thinking that if you move into melee with them in their shooting phase, you've charged, so you get to fight first. Is that the way Blood Surge works, right?
Blood Surge just lets you move 6 inches forward if you lose a model. But I
But
don't
if
think
you end in, I think if you end in, because it says here you can end in engagement range, so I think it counts as you charging them in their turn. So you get to fight first.
that would make sense.
So it's like if there's a bunch of orcs 4 inches away from your shooting unit, you don't want to shoot it. Because if you shoot it, they're probably going to walk into you and fight you and kill you. So you can kind of threaten opponents with that and go, if you do shoot them, I'm going to do this, and then they go, I won't shoot them, and then
Yeah, I think the difference is Blood Surge is an ability, so
yeah,
whereas this is a strat.
yeah,
So you
that's the difference, isn't it? Yeah,
yeah. So Blood Surge as well, you can use it against. It used to be compulsory, but now it's a choice.
yeah.
So in 9th it was compulsory, so you could use it to get berserkers up objectives. Because
Yeah,
that's the move towards you.
yeah,
Whereas now it's a choice. You can choose to move, whereas in 9th you had to move.
yeah.
I'll let you take us to the last one, which is Bully Boys. You're probably more
Bully
familiar
boys.
than myself.
Okay, so the boss is watching at the start of the battle round in which you have not called a war. If you have one or more war boss models on the battlefield or embarked within a transport, you can call a war for the second time this battle. When doing so, that second war only counts as having been called for war boss, knobs, and mega knob units in your army. So it's very restrictive to those, but as I believe, if you put, say, a beast boss, which has the war boss keyword, in with some beast snagger boys, they then benefit from that war too, because they have the war boss keyword. So you can give it to units that are attached to a war boss. Yeah, which is pretty good.
And all your announcements obviously affect war bosses,
Yes.
which you would expect.
Yes. Yeah. So as I believe, all enhancements only affect war bosses, and this is a big one. So the stratagems only affect knobs and mega knobs, so it doesn't affect a war boss or his unit. It's strictly knobs or mega knobs. Yeah. So first enhancement, we've got the teleporter. War boss and mega armor model only. Models in your bearer's unit have the deep strike ability, so it makes the orc terminators more like Terminators, which I think is
Yep.
quite nice. We've got the Big Gob, which is infantry war boss model only. At the start of the fight phase, select one enemy unit within engagement range of the bearer. That unit must take a battle shock test, and when doing so, subtract 1 from the result. So if you chase charges with Space Marines, you use that, make them take a battle shock test. They might not get armor contempt when you fight them with your AP -2, which is all right. Not too
It's all
bad.
right. It's not
Yeah.
too bad.
But it's, again, very, I think it's quite cheap. So it's not the same as using a strat where you're spending CP. It's just that every time you go near someone to fight, you can make them take a battle shock. It's pretty good. Then we've got the biggest boss, infantry war boss model only. Add 2 to the bearer's wounds characteristics. So you can have a war boss with 8 wounds instead of 6. It's pretty good.
Can't put it on a mega armor guy, can you?
Uh,
Unfortunately,
I think so, 'cause it says infantry war boss.
because they got the infantry keyword. It's just with one I say. Oh yeah, mega
Yeah,
armor.
I think why it says infantry war boss though is so you can't put it on a Death Killer War Trike, because the Death
Yeah,
Killer War
yeah, that
Trike
makes
has got the
sense.
war boss keyword, but it's a vehicle. So yeah,
Yeah,
or
that makes
mounted
sense.
as well. You couldn't put it on like a beast boss on Squigosaur because he's mounted, not
Yeah,
infantry. So it just stops you from.
War Boss and Mega Armor has got the infantry keyword, so
Yeah,
yeah,
I think
he
it's
is
just to
relevant.
stop your mounted squigs or someone riding a bike from getting extra wounds. I think that's the point. Yeah, so then we've got Ed Stomper, infantry war boss model only. Each time the bearer makes an attack that targets a unit that is below starting strength, re-roll the wound roll of 1. If the unit is below half strength, re-roll the wound roll instead. So
Okay.
yeah, where I think that could be quite nice is there's an easy way to get that. It's just use the grenade strat and do some mortal wounds before you charge them.
Yeah, to get the strength down, and
Yeah.
then yeah,
So you can
Yeah,
kind of auto do that as long as you've got a grenade, because war bosses have keep grenades anyway. If you've got the CP, you can just pop that, combine it with that, and you definitely get the reroll the wounds, which is pretty
yeah,
good.
that's quite nasty.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Uh,
strat-wise,
some stratagems. We've got arm to the teeth. Your shooting phase or fight phase. One knobs or mega knobs unit from your army that's not been selected to shoot or fight this phase. Until the end of that phase, each time a model in your unit makes an attack, reroll a hit roll of 1. If the war is active for your unit, you can reroll the hit roll instead. Pretty good.
it's all right.
Especially
It's
for,
not too bad.
maybe not so much for shooting phase, but just because I know Flash gets, even though they're knobs, they don't get the knobs keyword. So
And you can obviously war twice as well with your
you can war
knobs,
twice,
war
yeah.
bosses and mega knobs. So
Yes. So just that extra. The other thing is like, yeah, you can have the war twice, and like the theme that seems to be through the stratagems is that the theme of the detachment is buffed a little bit extra if you meet that second stipulation,
yeah,
which is quite cool. So too arrogant to die. When your opponent's shooting phase or your opponent's fight phase, just after an enemy unit has selected its targets, one knobs or mega knobs unit from your army is selected the target of one or more attacking units' attacks. Until the end of that phase, each time a model in your unit is destroyed, if that model has not shot or fought this phase, roll 1d6, adding 2 to the result if a war is active for your unit. On a 5 up or a 3 up in your war, do not remove the destroyed model from play. It can shoot or fight after the attacking unit has finished making attacks and is then removed from play. So it's kind of like a fight and death for that model that dies.
yeah.
On a
Yeah,
3
it's
up.
similar to one of the other strats where you're doing it based on it's fight on death, adding 2 to the result for war is active. Yeah, yeah.
So it's basically
Well, you can do it in shooting
like,
phase.
yeah. Whereas I
Yeah, it's
I
not too
think
bad.
the other one in the Warhorde was if that unit died, then you just got to fight. Whereas this
Yeah.
one is like if that model dies, you then get to fight.
But I didn't
So
think the Warhorde one was shooting as well, was it?
no, no.
No, it's melee, so
Yeah,
that's probably why you're going for it because you
yeah.
can
So
shoot as well.
in this one you could possibly have some like shooty knobs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Knobs with the I mean people don't really run knobs with shooters, but if you did,
But I mean,
they
you
could
can run it
shoot.
in the shooting phase as well. So if you did get
Yeah,
a unit shot, you could at least have a little pop up before you go. So
yeah, yeah.
but if you've got the
Definitely think
CP,
it's yeah, it's definitely stronger in the fighting phase, but
yeah, but if you've got the CP in the shoot, if you've got the CP, you might want to have a go at it in the shooting phase.
yeah. Then we've got always looking for a fight, which is in the fight phase, just after enemy unit is destroyed. One knobs or mega knobs unit from your army that destroyed that enemy unit. Until the end of the phase, each time your unit makes a consolidation move, it can move up to D3 plus 3 instead of 3. If the wire is active for your unit, it can move up to 6 inches instead. So you can pay for a 6-inch consolidation with Mega Knobs, which is really nice since they only have 5-inch movement anyway.
Yeah, they can
So
consolidate faster than they can
just
move.
being able to get that movement up the board, charge, then pay for that and get them where you really want them is really nice. I think that one's a really good strat, I think. Especially if you need to get them on an objective and they're not getting shifted anywhere with their 4-up feel no pain, 2-up save in cover.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great strat. Crushing Impact. Your charge phase after a knobs or mega knobs unit ends a charge move. That knobs or mega knobs unit, select one enemy unit within engagement range of your unit, then roll a d6 for each model that in your unit that is in with engagement range of that enemy unit. Uh, for each 5+, the enemy unit suffers 1 mortal wound to a maximum of 6 mortals. If in the war is active, that enemy unit suffers 1 mortal wound for each 4-up instead. So it's basically like grenades, tank shock,
Yeah, it's grenade tank
but
shot,
with
but
Yeah.
on an
So it's like the
infantry
4-ups
unit.
like grenades, the 5-ups like tank shot,
Yeah,
up to maximum 6 if you end a charge into something. So it's basically like the knobs running in, shoulders down, smash into them, do some mortal wounds before you
that's
fight.
pretty tasty for 1CP.
Yeah. Especially if you combine it like you walk up to them, you throw a grenade at them before, do 6 mortal wounds, then charge in, use this, that's another CP, 6 more. You could do total of max of 12 mortal wounds before you've even charged
Yeah,
off
you
them.
could potentially wipe a unit before you've even rolled for the actual
Yeah.
melee thing. Melee.
And the other thing you could do is say there's a unit that's not got many wounds left, pop this, charge into them, do mortal wounds, you've ended your charge phase, you then get to pile into, if you say you kill that unit using that attack, you can then pile 3 into another unit and fight a second, like say there's a unit that's within 3 inches of that unit, you could pile into that unit and fight them instead.
Yeah,
Because in 10th, you can now fight a unit that you don't charge as long as you can pile into the closest enemy unit.
yeah,
And then you can kill that unit, combine it with the 6-inch consolidate, and end up somewhere else. It's pretty
yeah.
crazy.
That's not bad. Then they've got two reactive. They've got two reactive straps, Bully Boys.
Yeah, they're really good. So we've got cut them down in your opponent's movement phase just after an enemy unit is selected to fall back. One knobs or mega knobs unit from your army with engagement range of that enemy unit. When the enemy unit falls back, all models in that enemy unit must take a desperate escape test. When doing so, if in the war is active, for your unit, subtract 1 from those tests. So if they try to fall back, you can just be like, well, I'm going to play this stratagem, and on a 1 or a 2, your unit dies.
Yeah, that's not bad.
Yeah, yeah, that's pretty good. Well, especially if it was on, like, say, a single model, you want to fall back with a rhino, something like that, and you fall back with that, I'm going to pop this, and a 1 or 2, you just lose a rhino, regardless of
Yeah,
how many
it's
wounds
the
it's got.
threat, isn't it? They're
Yeah.
not. If you've got a sequel, you've got that threat, and then they're not going to particularly want
And
to do it.
if they're going to do it anyway, you just go, yeah, okay, I'll do that then. 1 CP, they might lose a rhino.
Yeah,
It's quite nice on a 1 or a 2. It's worth a gamble on that one, I think. Then we've got hulking brutes. Your opponent's shooting phase just after an enemy has been selected its targets. One knobs or mega knobs unit from your army that has selected the target of one of more enemies' units' attacks. Until the end of the fight phase, each time that attack targets your unit, worsen the armor penetration characteristics by that attack by 1. So it's basically armor of contempt for knobs and mega knobs.
that's again not bad for one
Yeah.
CP.
So if you think of
And that,
that on mega knobs, it's quite nice.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
Bully Boys is really, to me, looking at it, is if you want an elite orc army.
Mm-hmm.
So you want all. You could take some Gretchen for battle. They're on battle line, aren't they?
Oh,
So
you
you
could
could, but you
take
could take some.
3.
Yeah,
Up to 3 in it.
you,
Yeah.
you could take some Gretchen for objective control,
Yeah.
and then just field an army of knobs and mega knobs. Yeah, and
And
Gaz
you
in
can
here.
still, if you think about it, you can take Mozrog with 8 squigs.
Yeah, because he's a
And
war
because
boss.
Mozrog has the war boss keyword, he will still benefit from 2
Yeah,
wars. So your squigs will get 2 wars. You can take a Death Killer War Trike with 6 bikes, they will still get 2 wars.
yeah. So, but it's
Which
like
is
Hero
quite,
Hammer, really. Hero
obviously they
Hammer.
won't have the access to the strats and the enhancements, but you can bring in some more units. You're not limited purely to knobs and mega knobs, which is quite cool.
Well, that's all the detachments. Just before we pile it and pack it in for the night,
Yep.
anything stand out to you? We've talked about Mega Knobs, we've talked about Gaz.
Yeah.
Favorite? What's your favorite unit?
Um, the thing I'm looking forward to playing the most, even though it's far too expensive, is my Stomper and a Dreadnought.
Yeah, I think you've got to really.
I just want to do it. I've played it while it's been rubbish. At least if I can buff it a little bit, I want to try and re-roll all its things. I want to advance and charge with my Stomper. It's not anything I think if it was reduced in points, it'd be big. But yeah,
I
I think
mean,
that's
let's
what
have a
I'm
quick look.
looking forward to.
I mean, I think it's 800 points, but it's quick. I'm just, there we go. It's 30 wounds. It's toughness 14. It's got a 6 up invul and a 2 up save.
Hmm.
It's not. It's going to take a. It's going to take a lot of firepower to bring one down.
Yeah.
It while the friendly unit is within 12 inches of the model, you have to take each time take a bottle shock test. It gives you +1 to that
Hmm.
test, which is okay.
Yeah.
Um, it's Titanic. It's Titanic. So each time this model makes a normal advance or fallback move, it can move over models which aren't Titanic and terrain features that are 4 inches or less in
Yeah.
height. So yeah, it's not bad,
Yeah.
and it's got some decent weapons on it.
I think it's strength, damage 10 claw, and its weapons are really good. You can delete a big tank easy by putting all your firepower into it. I think in a
Yeah,
dread mob, when you can give it lethals or sustained, you
Mega
can
Chopper
pop a strat
Strike
to.
is Mega Striker and Mega Chopper is 6 attacks, hitting on threes, strength 24,
Mhm.
AP -5, and damage 10. So you wounding knights on a normal knight on twos.
Yeah. The other thing as well is I don't think we talked about it too much with the dread mob because I focused a lot on shooting. You can also press the button or choose to give hazardous in combat. So you
Yeah,
can make that Stomper's attacks lethal.
yeah.
So they'll just
I,
auto wound. I mean, not that you need it on a, that's going to be wounding everything on a 2, but you can stop it. Oh, yeah, you can stop the ones
it is definitely
or
tempting
sustain.
to just
Yeah,
bring a Stomper, maybe bring a Gorkanaut and a Morkanaut,
yeah.
bring some Death Dreads, get some mechs, get a few grots.
I
Just
definitely
go
think
for it.
having the mech is an auto include of the Stomper because just making it hit on 4s, reroll everything, is it's going to up the damage output so
Yeah.
much. And then there's obviously the strat where you can give it +1 damage to vehicles and monsters. So if you're doing D6 damage +1, or you're doing flat 3 damage, or yeah, whatever, it's nice.
So all in all, what are your thoughts on the Ork Codex? Is
I'm
it an
pretty
improvement on
happy with it.
no?
Yes. There's some things I miss about ninth. I am enjoying 10th. I really enjoy playing 10th. I think Orcs in 10th are really good, and we're in a good place. I think this codex is only going to make them better. I think why I'm so happy about this is I've missed the flavor of Orcs. I felt like everything's just been goths. Everything if you wanted to play a shooty army, you couldn't. If you wanted to play a buggy army, you couldn't. We've now got flavor. We've got what orcs want the most, which is being all different clans, playing in all different ways, so everyone can bring their flyers, buggies, stompers, whatever, and play orcs and have fun, because that's what orcs are about. I think
Yeah.
win or lose, you just want to have a good crumping.
I think it's one of the better codexes. I really like the
Yeah,
codex. It just makes me more disappointed about the Custodes Codex.
yeah,
But I suppose we had that with Necrons and Admech. Necrons Codex was really good and Admech was a bit crap.
yeah, yeah.
So that
I
seems to
was
be
just going to
the
say
thing.
one more thing, mate,
Yeah,
if you didn't mind, because we didn't
yeah,
really
go for it.
talk about it, and I think it's a massive glow up, especially for the Green Tide. Um, the the boys data sheet got a massive glow up. So they got at the end of your command phase, if this unit is within range of an objective marker you control, that objective marker remains under your control, even if you have no models within range of it, until your opponent controls it at the start of your end of any turn. So sticky objectives on boys.
Yeah,
They didn't
which is
have
really
that in the
no,
index.
they didn't. No.
So like we were talking about the Orky blood surge thing where you shoot them, they'll then walk off an objective, but they keep it. So
But they still keep it anyway because they've got sticky.
yeah,
And if you've got a starting strength of 20, you can attach 2 leader units, but only one of them
mm,
can be a war boss. So you can put a war boss and, like you
yeah,
say, a pain boy on
yeah.
there.
Well, this is the weird thing. So I've discussed this with people, and it only says that one of them has to be a war boss. I've never seen it done. It doesn't say you can't put. It doesn't say only one can be a war boss. It says
At
one
least
must
one,
be at
only one.
least
Yeah.
up to one. Is it? Where is it? If this unit is strength, you can attach up to 2 leaders, but only if one of those is a war boss. So you can't put 2 pain boys. one of them has to be a war boss, but there's
Yeah, but
nothing saying you can't attach 2 war bosses to
yeah,
Squad of 20 boys.
yeah, you could do. Yeah, that's true.
And if you think about 2 war bosses in a squad of 20 boys with a war, that's a lot of attacks. I mean, I don't know why you'd do it in anything other than like maybe bully boys. It'd be good in bully boys. Outside of that, I don't know. But I think you're going to need 3 war bosses to spread out across your knobs anyway. So it's kind of like a
So,
niche little rule, but I don't.
final question before we go: do
Yeah.
you think orcs are going to become meta?
I'm in a group on WhatsApp, which is a buy, sell, swap. And the moment that they tease this codex, I saw people being like, want to buy knobs, mega knobs, war bosses. People are asking to buy all the buggies, not the buggies, sorry, the killer cans and dreads and things like that. I think people are going to want to try them. Are they going to become the meta? Maybe. I think we're already in a good place. I
I
don't
think
see
we're
how
gonna.
we're not going to.
I think we'll see. I think we'll see more orc lists on top tables.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, I think so.
I definitely think there'll be podium. I definitely think there'll be podium. It'll be a podium codex. Don't know if it'll dominate, but I think it'll definitely be podium.
Yeah,
They're definitely an army that, depending on what detachment you're playing against, you're gonna have to. When you see orcs on the orcs as your opponent, you're gonna be a bit like,
yeah. And then they're
yeah,
always going to have bully boys or green tide, I reckon,
yeah.
unless they really know what they're doing.
I think bully boys and green tide are going to be the ones that are going to be the most dangerous.
Yeah.
But I think dread mob is also good.
Dread mob's good. I just think the ability that when you start stacking things, so say you press the button twice and you select what you've got, if you've got a custom Mega Blaster in there already, the hazardous stacks, so you're going to be doing mortal wounds to yourself on a 2. It's like if you do the hazardous on a Stomper and you shoot with 2 twin shooters, you shoot with the Deathstorm Mega Shooter or whatever it's got, and 2 rockets, you have to roll a hazardous test for every single gun you shoot with. So Stomper's going to do a lot of wounds to itself if you fail a lot of hazardous tests.
Yeah.
So I think
that's quite.
it's like, I like it, it's fluffy. I don't think people are going to do that in competitive. I don't think people are going to like doing hazard. I think there's too much randomness and chance of doing damage to yourself. It's kind of like the Chaos Blood packs.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Well, thanks
we'll
very
see
much.
if that.
Go on, sorry.
No, I was going to say we'll see if people take Dread Mob to very competitive games, but I think for control it's going to be Green Tide and Bully Boys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you're right. Thanks for joining
No
us.
worries,
Thanks
Thank you for
everybody.
having me.
Thanks everybody who tuned in. Just quickly, obviously you're on social media, but you've got 2 accounts. Do you want to give both accounts because you've got your tattoo account as well?
Yeah, can do. So obviously this one, OrkDaggaz, and then DarrenDaggaz, which is Darren with a Y. Daggaz spelled the proper way, not Orky way. And I do a lot of like Warhammer tattoo, flash, things like that. So people who want Warhammer tattoos should check that out.
Yep. No.
Yep.
So yeah, it's been good. It's been good to get through it. That's why I brought you on, because obviously you play Orcs competitively and I don't. So it's been good to get your perspective on stuff. Thanks for everyone who did the questions, and
Could
we'll
I ask
see
you
you
a
all
question
soon.
as well,
Oh, yeah,
actually, before we jump off? I was just going to say, do you think you'll play your Orcs in 10th now you've got the Codex?
I think the reason why I haven't is just that I've had limited games at 10th. So it's been one of those things where I haven't played that many games at 10th. I've mainly played with Demons and World Eaters.
Okay.
I've only played a couple of games with Custodians, to be fair.
Yeah.
And it's just like no one really at the shop is playing 10th at the minute, unless they're playing competitive.
Yeah.
So we've got competitive players who are playing 10th, but then casual games, not many people are playing 10th because they prefer one-page
Well, if you do
rules.
fancy playing your Orcs and you want to fight some Orcs, we could maybe do like a Orc v Orc casual. That could be quite fun.
Yeah, we'll have to. We talked about me, you, and Sid getting together again, so we'll have to do that at some point soon, and then we can get back again.
That'd be great. It'd be nice to see Sid as well.
Yeah. It should be fun. So anyway, thanks for joining us. It's been good. It's been fun, and thanks to everybody who's joined us, and see you all again soon. Bye-bye.
No worries, mate. Thank you.
Bye.
See you later.